Under the cold, unforgiving light of a full moon, a creature lurked beside a narrow, deserted road, a thin ribbon of asphalt winding through the sprawling farmlands of Elkhorn, Wisconsin. The night air felt thick and electric, almost as if the atmosphere itself were holding its breath in anticipation of something monstrous. It was a stark contrast to the tranquility usually associated with the Wisconsin countryside, where the soft rustling of cornfields blended with the distant hoot of an owl. But on this night, all was still, save for the low hum of the wind, whispering secrets to those who dared to listen. The Beast of Bray Road, those who had caught a glimpse of it, knew they could never shake the image from their minds. How could they? The way its fur caught the moonlight, glistening with an almost wet sheen, had a hypnotic quality, pulling the viewer into a primal fear that resonated deep within the marrow of their bones. And the eyes, oh, the eyes. Those unearthly orbs, glowing with an unsettling light, seemed to pulse with an intelligence and a malevolence that chilled the very soul. Take Laurie Andre, for instance. It was the fall of 1989 when she found herself driving home late one evening, the engine of her car humming softly as she navigated the winding roads that cut through the thick blanket of fog, thick as molasses. Her headlights struggled against the dense mist, illuminating patches of the asphalt while leaving the rest cloaked in darkness. It should have been just another quiet night, one where the most significant event was the flickering of a distant farmhouse light or the rustle of a raccoon digging through a garbage can. But that night was different. The first thing Laurie noticed was the shape. A hulking form, dark and ominous, crouched low to the ground just outside the feeble reach of her headlights. Roadkill, she thought. Remnants of another unfortunate creature's final moments. But then it moved. It shifted in a way that sent icy tendrils of fear curling through her gut, a slow, sinuous motion that felt wrong. Too wrong. It straightened, rising to a height that defied nature. A towering, monstrous silhouette against the night sky. Her heart slammed in her chest, the rhythmic pounding a frantic echo in the silence. It wasn't a dog. It wasn't a coyote. No, it was something far more sinister. Laurie's heart raced, the pulse in her temples matching the frantic beat of her heart as she gripped the steering wheel, knuckles turning white with terror. The creature, whatever it was, turned to face her, the dim glow of her headlights catching the outline of its fur, its eyes glowing in the darkness like molten gold. In that moment, they locked gazes, and she felt an ancient malevolence stir just beneath the surface, a dark whisper that twisted in her mind. Her stomach lurched as nausea washed over her, a primal instinct urging her to flee, but she was paralyzed, unable to look away from the horror before her. A creature that seemed to possess the body of a man and the haunting face of a wolf, crouched on its haunches, its massive shoulders rolled forward, claws digging into the pavement as if it could anchor itself to this world. In its grasp, it held a mangled mass of flesh, roadkill perhaps. Laurie's mind reeled, desperately trying to dismiss what she was seeing. It couldn't be real, but there it was, gnashing its teeth, tearing into the carcass with a ravenousness that felt disturbingly human. She could almost hear the sound of ripping flesh mingling with the stillness of the night, a grotesque symphony that played just for her. Then it did something that would haunt her for the rest of her days. It smiled. The snarl twisted into something that resembled a grin, sharp, jagged teeth glistening under the silvery moonlight. For one awful moment, Laurie could have sworn she heard it laugh, a chilling sound that sent shivers down her spine. With a reflex born of pure terror, she slammed her foot down on the gas pedal, the tires screeching as her car shot forward, the creature's eyes burning into her back as she sped away. It wasn't until she reached the safety of her home, heart pounding, breath ragged, that she dared to look in the rearview mirror. But that image, the beast's eyes, was seared into her memory, an indelible mark that would never fade. It was a nightmare she could not escape, a specter that would haunt her for years. But Laurie was far from alone. Hers wasn't the only encounter etched into the annals of Elkhorn. The Beast of Bray Road had haunted this small town for decades, centuries even, some whispered. In the 90s, tales of its terror began to spread like wildfire, capturing the imaginations of those who lived in its shadow. Linda Godfrey, a local journalist with a nose for the uncanny, stumbled upon the murmurs and decided to investigate. What she uncovered was something far darker than she had ever anticipated. It wasn't just Laurie who had witnessed the creature. There were dozens of accounts, stretching back through the years like a thread woven into the fabric of local lore. Farmers, hunters, ordinary folk, people just going about their lives, had come face to face with the beast, and they all told the same story. A massive bipedal canine, eyes glowing like twin embers, exuding an intelligence that froze the blood in their veins. Their stories overlapped, creating a tapestry of terror that wrapped itself tightly around the town of Elkhorn. Elkhorn was small, quaint, almost idyllic in its appearance. But beneath the surface, something lurked, something restless and hungry that would not remain hidden for long. The town's peaceful facade masked a history steeped in fear and mystery, a darkness that stirred in the corners of whispered conversations and late-night gatherings. People who lived in Elkhorn spoke of the beast in hushed tones, careful not to let its name slip into the air where it could take form. They said it was a harbinger of bad luck, a portent of doom. And yet, the more they whispered, the more palpable the fear became, settling like a thick fog over the town. Linda Godfrey's investigation led her down a path steeped in shadow, one that unearthed stories dating back to the 1930s. Farmers whispered of the creature in hushed tones. Children glimpsed it lurking at the edges of the woods, their eyes wide with terror. And now, decades later, the sightings were mounting. Godfrey meticulously documented each encounter, adding layer upon layer of terror to an already murky legend. Her notepad filled with chilling accounts of the creature's appearances, each scrawled line a testament to the fear that had gripped the community. One farmer recalled a night in the late 1960s when a scratching at the side of his barn pulled him from his sleep. He armed himself with a shotgun, expecting to find a coyote or perhaps a bear prowling too close to his livestock. Instead, he was confronted by a creature, hunched and snarling, its luminous eyes locked onto his. It was taller than any man he'd ever seen, muscles rippling beneath its thick fur, its presence a dark omen that chilled him to the bone. He fired a shot, but the creature didn't flinch. It merely stared, lips curling back in a primal snarl. The farmer fled into his house, bolting the door and listening as the thing circled his home for hours, claws scraping against wood, a haunting reminder of what prowled just outside. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a taunt, a reminder that he was not safe, not even behind locked doors. And then there was the boy, a child, no older than 12, who had been walking home from school one afternoon when he saw the creature standing at the edge of a cornfield. At first, he thought it was just a large dog, but when it stood, towering over the corn stalks, he knew it was something else entirely. The creature was a grotesque parody of life, a thing that should not exist. Heart pounding, he ran home. The image of the beast burned into his mind, a vivid nightmare that wouldn't fade. He stumbled into his house, breathless and wide-eyed. But when he tried to explain, no one believed him. They laughed it off as a child's imagination running wild, but he knew what he had seen. As Linda Godfrey delved deeper into the legend, she unearthed a truth that stretched far beyond Elkhorn. This was no local myth. It was part of a sprawling tapestry of similar sightings across the country. Reports of upright wolf-like creatures were cropping up in places as diverse as Michigan and Texas. In Michigan, tales of the Dogman circulated for decades. Stories of a creature that mirrored the Beast of Bray Road, but was even more terrifying in its aggression. In Texas, hunters spoke of something stalking through the woods, moving on two legs, its eyes glowing like hot coals in the night, leaving behind an unmistakable trail of dread. The stories shared an unsettling familiarity no matter their origin. Glowing eyes, inhuman speed, an overwhelming dread that seemed to follow the creature like a dark cloud, warping the very fabric of reality in its wake. This was not merely a local phenomenon. It was a national epidemic of fear. With every new account, the creature evolved from a mere legend into something far more sinister. Theories swirled in the minds of those who sought to explain the inexplicable. Some believed the creature to be a cryptid, an undiscovered species of wolf, perhaps something ancient that had eluded humanity for centuries. Others pondered more supernatural origins, speculating it might be a shapeshifter or a demonic entity summoned by rituals long buried in the past. Native American legends spoke of spirit beings that could traverse worlds, creatures that donned the guise of wolves to wander among humans. Was the Beast of Bray Road one of those? Linda Godfrey remained cautious, unwilling to leap to conclusions without evidence. Yet, she could not dismiss the pattern. There was something lurking in the shadows, something that defied explanation. The witnesses were not crackpots or hoaxers. They were ordinary people. Farmers, blue-collar workers, individuals with no motive to fabricate such stories, and they all echoed the same haunting truth. The creature existed. It was real. But for all the sightings, for all the chilling tales, there remained a disquieting void. No hard evidence. No footprints, no hair, no bodies, nothing that could be studied, analyzed, or dissected. The creature slipped through the cracks of reality, leaving no trace of its presence, fading back into the shadows as easily as it had appeared. This absence of evidence only emboldened skeptics who dismissed the sightings as nothing more than mass hysteria, a byproduct of overactive imaginations fueled by local folklore. But for those who had stared into the abyss and met the beast's gaze, no amount of skepticism could erase their reality. The Beast of Bray Road was not a mere figment. It was out there, watching, waiting, and it seemed to know when it was being observed. Witnesses described a chilling sensation, a prickling at the back of their necks as if the creature had turned its gaze upon them, piercing through the veil of reality. What made this creature even more terrifying was its elusiveness. While Bigfoot sightings often occurred in remote, uninhabited territories, the Beast of Bray Road was different. Bray Road itself wasn't some desolate forest trail. It was a rural artery, flanked by farmland and homes, mere miles from the heart of Elkhorn. People lived here, worked here. They drove these roads every day, and yet the creature had managed to remain hidden for decades, revealing itself only to the unfortunate souls who crossed its path. Was it intelligent? Did it possess an awareness? A cunning that allowed it to sense danger and evade capture? Some researchers believed so. The creature seemed to materialize and vanish at will, as if it had the ability to cloak itself, slipping between dimensions or bending light to avoid detection. Others theorized it had a supernatural origin, suggesting that the strange phenomena often accompanying its sightings, electrical disturbances, cars stalling, cell phones dying, were indicative of something otherworldly at play. As Linda Godfrey's research gained traction, the legend of the Beast of Bray Road grew. Documentaries, podcasts, and books were dedicated to uncovering the truth behind the creature. Cryptid enthusiasts and paranormal investigators flocked to Elkhorn, hoping to catch a glimpse of the beast for themselves. They arrived with cameras and equipment, armed with enthusiasm and a healthy dose of skepticism. Yet, for all the attention, the creature remained elusive. It was still out there, somewhere in the dark, watching and waiting. The reports kept coming, each one more chilling than the last. The Beast of Bray Road was no longer just a local legend. It had become something more, something that tapped into our deepest fears, our most primal instincts. It was the embodiment of the unknown, the thing that lurked in the shadows, just beyond the reach of our understanding. It stirred a visceral dread, igniting the imagination with terrifying possibilities. What if it was real? What if it was lurking just out of sight, waiting for its next victim? And as long as the moon hung in the sky, as long as there were lonely roads and dark forests, the beast would continue to haunt our nightmares, because sometimes the things we fear the most aren't the ones we can see. Sometimes it's the things we can't explain that truly terrify us. So, the next time you're out driving on a lonely road late at night, and you catch a glimpse of something moving in the shadows, something that seems too tall, too fast, too impossible, don't stop, don't slow down. Keep your eyes forward and pray that it's just your imagination, because if it's not, if it's real, you might just find yourself face to face with the Beast of Bray Road. The very thought sends shivers down your spine, doesn't it? After all, not every shadow holds only darkness. Some shadows breathe, think, and hunger, and some shadows are waiting for you